Hello everyone! As you may know, I'm currently porting my game A Home in Darkness from Godot 3 to Godot 4. This is not a simple port, as much of the stuff I used changed in Godot 4. The AI navigation system, tweens and 3D model animation, just to name a few. Overall, I very much like the changes, but porting the game takes a lot of time. So why do all this work? Isn't the game almost done? It has been in early access for a while and is currently in version 0.8. It has to be close to finish, right? Why do the port? Well, truth of the matter is, the game just isn't fun right now to play. And it took me a while to figure out why. That, along with personal issues and responsibilities, slowed down development to almost a halt. So I'm not just porting the game to Godot 4, I'm also making some major changes code-wise and most importantly in the gameplay. For a long time I thought making a combat system would be too much work and detract from the core idea of the game. Figuring out how to perform rituals to use them against enemies. You might remember from a previous video I made a while back that I wanted this aspect to feel like a puzzle. Now I think this was the wrong decision. Here's why. As a puzzle, enemies can only have a binary relation to the player. Either the player knows how to defeat them, or they don't. In turn, this means an enemy is either immortal or an easy target for the player. An encounter doesn't offer any kind of challenge anymore once the first of its kind has been figured out. What I need to do as a game developer at that point is to introduce a new type of enemy that needs a different strategy. Sadly, if I only change parameters about the ritual, like the symbol you need to use and the book you can find it in, this different strategy will still feel the same to the player, making the whole game very repetitive and boring. So the only way to make this approach work is to introduce many very different enemies and very different rituals, which results in a lot of specialized code and assets where each encounter might add 5 to maybe 10 minutes of additional playtime overall. I need a long time to create an enemy and ritual, but get very little playtime out of them because I can't easily reuse them. Even worse, the enemies just don't feel like threats, which can be considered a failure in game design for horror games. How do I intend to solve this issue? By trying to push the gameplay more towards combat and RPG elements. That way enemies can still be a threat to the player even if they know how to deal with them. Instead of needing a specific ritual, I can implement something resembling elemental weaknesses. The player can then figure out the best approach to defeat an enemy, but isn't stuck with just one solution. I imagine this becoming especially interesting when adding some sort of trade-off by consumables for certain solutions. It will also be easier to reuse enemies by having multiple enemies in one encounter, adding much needed, fun, extra playtime. Not to mention, if each enemy has to have unique behavior and skill anyway to make them interesting, going the extra mile and implementing an actual decent combat system doesn't sound like that much extra work anymore. I can't say more about this at the moment as I'm still figuring everything out. I don't want to make any promises right now and would rather let the new version of the game speak for itself. I also don't want to introduce unnecessary feature creep. But after such a long silence, I needed to give some kind of update. Now you might understand why this port is taking so long compared to maybe other devlogs. So naturally I want to focus more of my future videos on work I did for the game. This means the development of the Vampire Survivors tutorial is put on hold for now. And Godot 4 tutorials, if any, will be more along the lines of the Tween tutorial I released previously. A topic that I had to deal with during the porting and remaking process of my own game. I hope that's okay. Anyway, that's it for today. As you can see, a lot of stuff is in the works for A Home in Darkness. Once I get all this sorted out, I'll upload a new version of the game on itch.io. If you want to support me, head on over there and take a look at my projects. I'd really appreciate it. Until next time, bye bye.